Hey, everybody. It is Monday night, November the 3rd. This is the first Monday in the gratitude month. And I am Dr. Dream, and you are here for the It's All Good Circle. And we've got quite a nice, well, quite a interesting topic and program tonight. Um, and so I'm really looking forward to diving into that. Before I get into that, I just want to share a few things. If you haven't checked out Quantum Alliance D2.com, that is the collaboration between Daryl Virginia Dennis and myself, and we now have 14 short videos up there, all 15 minutes or less. We add 7 new videos every Sunday night. So you can tap into, well, all 7 at once if you're a binge type person, or you can go ahead and just select one a day and get your, we like to call it your quantum boost for the day. But whatever it is, there's some fun topics, and I have to tell you, we're going to keep making them even if you don't watch them, because Daryl and I have such a darn good time making these videos. So that was our Sunday afternoon. I did something exciting today that caught me off guard. I'm ordering 21,000 essential oil bottles. Just like things you don't really expect to do. And I got a good price on them. So it's right. Well, you know what? I wanted to order 42,000. And I thought, let's just start at 21,000. That's 3,000 chakra sets of essential oils. And then we're in the process of ordering 21,000 chakra chocolates. This is for the tour. And again, I think this is, in my mind, it's less than half of what we're going to need for the tour. But just that number, 21,000, made me nervous to start with. So I was like, let's do that. And so I have a company that's going to be taking our blends and filling the little there. It's just 1 mil of oil, so it's a small thing. But he said to me, "How many do you want?" And I said, "Oh, around 20,000." And I said, actually 21,000. He said, so that's 21,000 of each chakra, which is 140 some thousand things. I'm like, no. That's just 21,000 sets. It's these moments that make me realize that we're really stepping up the tour, and it's going to be quite a experience this next year. And you all know Victoria Benoit. I'm setting up an appointment with her this week because I'm like, I'm not freaking out. All right, but maybe I'm freaking out a little bit, but so I'm going to pull the reins in a little bit, but it's big, and it's wild because it's just me and Stephanie putting it together. And it just at times seems not over, it seems whelming. And you sometimes I want to cry about it, but we go ahead and we laugh about it. And so I just share that with you guys, that's what's happening this week. Was it just last week that I was with kidney stone, like Dr. Dream with child? And I got some amazing energy work, and the kidney stone did not pass. Phil reminded me it may have just disappeared, which, I'm wildly open to that concept. My comment was it stopped moving. And I'm like, okay. So we're playing hide and seek, and it hid really well. And I'm like, I'm not going to find you. Um, but I appreciate all your suggestions and everything. Somebody recommended a book, The Healing Questions. Who recommended that? That was you, Vienna? It arrived today. I ordered it right away, and I was like, that just sounds like a book that I should have. And I went and I was going to order it on Kindle because it was about 25% the price. And then I thought, no, this seems like it's a book that needs to be like right there that I can just open and go to pages and everything. So, but I appreciated everyone's advice. I got some emails following the Zoom last week, made me very happy. Thank you, Gail, and thank you, Silvi, and Jen. Thank you. I actually picked up a supplement that Jen suggested. So all good stuff. I appreciate our this family and community that we've got here. So let's go ahead and talk about the topic for tonight. And so, you know me wanting to keep it light. Tonight's topic is lessons from the hard stuff. And it is described as sometimes our greatest teachers come disguised as challenges. And you all of us will share, be called on, or you'll step up and volunteer to share one life challenge that ultimately revealed a hidden gift or insight. And so I told Destiny she was going to start, but look, she's gone dark up there, so I can't call on her. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Way to go, Destiny. And I didn't have to think too long about this. I mean, like everyone else in a meat suit, I've had a whole load of challenges in my life. And I'm firmly at the place that I embrace the challenges and I see them as gifts. And doesn't mean I don't look forward to getting on the other side of them. I don't want to hang out with them for very long, but I do embrace that there's something in it for me. But if I had to identify really kind of the biggest challenge that I have experienced in my life, it's not even narrowed down to one experience, but it's narrowed down to one category. And that category is death. Death, not mine, because here I am doing this Zoom call, so I think I'm still okay. But death of people that I love. And it's one of the odd things for me, and I understand it on many different levels. First of all, for myself, I don't have a fear of death. I've had a number of experiences that have allowed me to process that personal fear of my own death, and so that that doesn't challenge me at all. But I think that and then I understand like what a gift. I often say that we should be how cool it would be if we celebrated death the same way we celebrate a birth. You know, that we had that much joy and enthusiasm about it and everything else. And yet and I know that wherever we go from here, I gotta believe it's incredibly beautiful and amazing. I mean, my belief system around it is very positive and beautiful and uplifting when I think about it. But then when somebody close to me passes along, transitions, I like to say, um, it hits me hard. It is, and I'm like, what? Why is this? You're really upset. You're allowing it to really sink you, and it's. I think I just get very attached to my people. You know, like I have a lot of people that know me, but I wouldn't say that I have a lot of friends. Okay, we're on the road all the time. It doesn't lend itself to, you know, having a social circle and calling people and being on top of birthdays and just everything else. We 11 and a half months on the road last year. It's, you know, it's hard for us to stay on top of our own stuff. And so I've always said, you know, I'm not that kind of friend. You know, I'm the one that, you know, would check in every few months and pretend like there's no time that's passed. But and so I was thinking about it today, and I think I handled the transition of my parents pretty well. But the writing was on the wall for both of them. Um, I did not handle the transition of my brother well, my younger brother. Um, and I think it just caught me off guard. So I'm not going to go too much into all the experiences, but I would like to discuss the hidden gift or insight that has come out of it. And the big one is you never know. Excuse me. You never know what's going to happen in this life. Um, Here today, gone tomorrow. I mean, you just have no idea. I didn't plan on having back-to-back strokes, you know, 5 years ago when I was 5 years younger than I am today. And it has helped me be more in the present moment in all of my interactions with people and to tell people all the time that I love them. Because if someone that I love isn't here tomorrow, I don't want to have any regrets that they didn't know how I felt about them, or I didn't share my appreciation or the things about them that I loved. Ooh, throat chakra stuff going on for me right now, for sure. Um, so I think I can end it there. It's lessons for me from the hard stuff related to death and the insight. Don't take anyone for granted. Tell people you love them. Don't let the moments slip away. Make the most of every opportunity you have with every person. And so before I pass the baton right now, I want to say I love you all. And I'll say it again at the end, as I always do, but just in case something happens to me between now and the end of the show, cancel, clear, delete, sweetie. I'm fine. Um, okay. You have to bring some humor into this, I tell you. All right. So normally we'd call on Phil. Are you guys doing the tag team lessons from the hard stuff, or how do you want to handle that, Phil?
Well, I mean, I'll just go and then everybody else can follow up and either share something in regard to what both you and I have shared or bring up their own things. Um, a couple of words that I wanted to focus on tonight are trust to allow or allow to trust. They're almost interchangeable. Um, and I laid awake very early this morning and you know how sometimes we'll kind of play around with things in our head and I couldn't really find a reason that either word couldn't be used first. Now that's a really interesting point that you bring up, Dr. Dream, about death, because that is the ultimate point of trust to allow or allow to trust. Because at the time of death, we think we might have an idea what happens, but we don't know until it happens. We don't know if we actually go beyond the body or if we leave with the body. Now, believe me, I I'm convinced that we never die. We just move from this realm and we do something else because we are energy and energy cannot be destroyed. And so that makes us infinite. Because energy is finite, to me, in my world, I'm infinite. Now, that being said, it'll be interesting when I get to that point of leaving this body and this body loses its breath. Okay, what happens now? There's no reason to be afraid of nothing happening because if nothing happens, there's nothing. It's just gone, boom, zero, nothing. Now, if my theory is correct, now that gets really interesting because now we are nothing but something. And I don't know what that means, but it's sort of the ultimate trust because when we pass from this body to go peacefully, that's the trust. And we're allowing ourselves to move into a different realm with complete faith and trust in where we're going and what's happening. Now, Mary brought up to me about reading about people that leave in a very angry state or a confused state about the relationship with God. You know, whether they believe in God or they don't believe in God or and they get to the precipice of passing and there may be a huge amount of confusion in them apparently from what these stories, unfolded was that there was, and I'm not sure how they measured it, but there was a tremendous amount of fear in people that maybe, and I'll just call it didn't have faith, um, or once again, trust to allow. Um, and so, things that have happened in my life, of course, we've all had not what we would call near-death experiences, but definitely experiences where we look back and we went, holy crap, I could have been dead. Now, some people are extremely fortunate in that they screw up totally and they drive the car off the cliff and somehow they have a parachute and they jump out the window. Um, and they live. They do something that's totally, either or dumbfounded, stupid, whatever, and they live through it. They roll a car 6 times and they fly out and they land in a hay pile. And they live. Something weird happens and they live. Other people make a little minor silly mistake that we would maybe consider silly and they're gone. Um, we never know. We just don't. And trust and allow is the ultimate. I have to look at my notes because I wrote this down and sometimes I forget, but it's the ultimate conflict resolution. Because everything we go through in life, we can either have an understanding that there's a purpose, a reason, we trust it, we allow it to be okay, and whatever happens next happens. But we move through it in a fashion that we're not, let's just say, we're not angry. Anger mostly comes from our lack of trust. Because sometimes, if we're building some blocks and the wind blows and it blows the blocks over, we get angry of something that we totally can't control. We have no trust in that the lesson we just received was that, hey, dude, you don't control the wind. And so, I find myself doing that. And that's why I bring it up is there's times that I'm expecting anything that I do to be just perfectly the way that I'm doing it. And then I trip and I fall and I bang my head and I go, what was that all about? Um, so being able to have full trust in that whatever we're experiencing, there's a purpose, and we allow it to be perfect helps us to have, I think, a happier life. Am I perfect with that? Absolutely not. Could I be or should I be? Maybe. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. That's why I talk about it because I'm trying to convince myself to go there. Um, so that's my story.
Bill, thank you for your story. Daryl, we're going to come back to you. I'm splitting up your dashing
Our
duo
tag team.
that you have there, right? Destiny, can you are you with us? Destiny.
Ye- Hello. Uh, my internet's been acting a little funky. How am I sounding? No, I can't hear you.
Good so
Well,
far.
You're good. You're
Okay.
good.
Okay, awesome. So I had a few um instances that I thought it would be fun to bring up. Um, kind of going back in time, they all relate to each other a little bit. Um, Several years ago, I was living in San Diego, and gosh, it was a wonderful experience. I was I was a bar manager developing something of an alcohol problem. And all in 1 week, I ended up losing my job and my apartment over really
Wow.
small things that you just never would have guessed were going to happen. How am I doing so far? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Um, and it was clearly a sign that I was getting exactly what I needed. I had wanted to change my situation for a long time, but wasn't figuring out how to make it happen. And so, two things that could be rather devastating and ended up turning out to be a wonderful thing. And I got to move to Southern Idaho and live near Stephanie and her family. And um, it really it really brought about this beautiful thing where I began to understand how important family was because my family is so disconnected from each other. My parents weren't in communication or in their parents' lives and me and my siblings and family, we all just scattered and didn't really talk. And it was just it was a really important step along the path of understanding the desires that were deep inside me more clearly. And so it was great to be able to understand that I cared more about family, but I still thought that I desired all of these grand schemes. I wanted to go to Ayurveda school and I wanted to launch this online program and I did all of this work to get it started and I had actually built myself a pretty good life in Southern Idaho. I was very comfortable with my kids and my apartment and I just wasn't happy there though. I knew that wasn't exactly where I should be and I thought that I needed to be in North Carolina and um so I was working really hard on this, and a lot of times I would lay awake sweating at night, like, what am I doing? I'm just gonna go leave this comfortable life that I have and go try all these new things. And I ended up um putting in my 30 days notice with my job and my apartment, and uh my first stop was supposed to be in North Idaho, and then I was gonna go visit all these national parks and end in North Carolina at the end of summer, and I was gonna launch my program simultaneously, and in my mind I had all of this money that I was gonna make and I bet everything on it. I just decided to leave and it was very scary. And I ended up not launching the program because there was legal things about it that I didn't understand and I didn't feel ready to step into that role yet on a deeper level, I'm sure. And So I ended up going to North Idaho, and that ended up being the very, very best place that I could have been. And so again, it was like I built up this huge dream, all the stuff that I had going on, totally thought I was going in a different direction. But one of the things that I kept focusing on was that I want this or something better. And God definitely knew what was better for me. That was last year right before the flood happened in North Carolina. So I was super grateful not to be there for that. And then yeah, I ended up landing in North Idaho and staying, and I had a beautiful year out in nature, and I've become so much closer to my brother and sister. I realized that even though they didn't reach out to me, it was my job to reach out to them if I wanted the connection to really become what it could and should be. And so um, that was it was really scary and it was really disappointing in a lot of ways, but it turned out to be the best possible thing for me. And I never could have planned the way that everything happened. It was just absolutely perfect. And so my point with my stories is that we think that we understand our desires and our goals for our life and what we really want. And I think it's important to try to understand it and to try different things um and to ask for guidance to realize that God sees the bigger picture far better than we do and that we can trust and flow with it.
Excellent. Thank you, Destiny. I appreciate that. Um, who's raising their hand right now? Gail, I saw your hand.
Okay. So I think I'm going to talk about the chiropractic thing. I was hanging out with a friend in Canada, and he said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I didn't know. And eventually I said, "Well, when I was younger, I wanted to be a chiropractor." And he said, "Oh, that would be a good career for you." So I set about getting myself into chiropractic school. And it was awful. There's no nice way to say it. I got to the point where I didn't want to be there, but I was so far in debt, I didn't see a way out except going through. Thinking, okay, well, when I get out the other side, I'm going to be able to make some money and live off this, make an income. No. Chiropractic school apparently for me was about learning how to learn and learning how to think and letting go of my practice. I was in practice 9 years, and retiring and letting my license go in December of this last year. Was excruciatingly painful because I had made a 14-year commitment to making this dream that I had when I was 40 or 35 work in my late 50s and 60s. And I'm not the same woman I was back at 35. Had I gone to school back then, I would have finished and I would have been successful and I would have marketed the way I needed to market. And I would have had a 20 or 30 or 40-year chiropractic career. I would not be the woman I am now. And I wouldn't have done all the other strange things that I did and loved. And I'd be much more linear, and I don't know that I would necessarily be happy. And now, letting go of my license and all my patients and giving them back their paperwork. So I don't have anybody's paperwork. I gave it all back to them and told them if they didn't want it and they did nothing, then I was going to shred it. And I did. And I met the letter of the law in the state I live in for taking care of those patients. Anybody that, if anybody wanted another doc, I had names to give them. Nobody asked, and that was okay too. But this was something that I worked brutally hard at creating and doing. And I fell flat on my face, but I got up. I have a debt that would buy me a really, really big house. And, by the time I'm about 90, hopefully the federal government will write it off, or maybe I'll have a winning lottery ticket and I'll pay it off. So there it is. But the best thing about school is I know that I can do something truly, truly difficult and come out the other side and thrive, even if I'm not doing that thing. Even if my dreams got sort of blown away. Because there's always a new dream. Now, are there new big dreams? Not anymore. I dream a lot smaller because it's risky. Or let's put it this way. Maybe they're not smaller. Maybe they just don't cost as much. So there. Was it a good thing? Yeah. I learned a lot. I met some really nice people. I left a lot of people behind. And I learned a lot of things about myself, what I do want, what I don't want, how I want to work, how I don't want to work. And I realized that I don't want to work as hard as I would have to build a practice. So if that means I live a smaller life, okay. So be it. I don't think it's going to be that, but okay. Either way, I'm done now.
Thank you, Gail. I always appreciate you sharing. I'm going to call on someone now just because Vienna.
I need to do a little Paul Harvey, the rest of the story. I walked with Gail, beside Gail, through that journey. And in her studying for her exams, she helped me pass my massage therapy exams. So talk about the stone in the pond that ripples and ripples and ripples and ripples and ripples and points back to you. Everything that I've been able to do in body work is because I was licensed, because I passed an exam, because my friend Gail helped me study. Thank you.
So I'm going to thank you, Vienna, for sharing that. And I love that you two have history. I'm particularly fond of that. Susie, I'd like to hear you. I know so much. I've been enthralled by the variety and the stories in your life, and every once in a while you catch me off guard. And so I'm excited to hear your take on this topic. So, and you and I are close enough that I don't mind putting you on the spot.
Okay, so I grew up in a very abusive, neglectful life as a young child, and then I moved a lot. My father was in the army, and so I didn't know that any of that was not normal until I hit my 30s. And I stumbled into a program in the early 70s. I had just gotten home off of a ship, and I was tagging along with a woman who was doing catering for a workshop, a polarity workshop. And so I was helping to set up tables and all of that, and we set everything up and food and all of that, and no one showed up. And so the presenter asked me if I wanted to have a sample of this, and I said, sure, okay. So I'm laying on the floor, and this was my first realization that there's some stuff going on inside of me that I hid deep, deep, deep. Anyway, this woman was like very gently, like an ocean, going across my belly and talking about digestion and how, this is good after turkey dinners and all of that. And I hysterically started crying. And I thought, whoa, what is this? And it's like I didn't have any idea where it came from or anything. And so I followed up and went to Polarity Boot Camp, which was 2 weeks, and it was a very strict diet, no sugar, no cigarettes, no alcohol, no coffee, which, I was doing all of that. And so immediately you start detoxing. And so you start taking away all the distractions, and we will automatically start coming up with the things that are going on inside of us when we're not hiding behind them. Cigarettes. Oh, I hid so much behind the cigarettes. So then there were saltwater scrubs. And then if that wasn't doing it, they would dig into your fascia with their thumbs, because there's a lot hiding in the fascia between the muscle and the bone. There's great hiding places there for stuff. And so then when all of that would hurt and you would start to get angry that these people were just like, whoa, what is going on? They didn't want you to just make noise from your throat. They wanted you to make noise from your belly. And so they had a very specific criteria of how to make these sounds that come out of you. And then when they were done with you there, and the thing is that when you started making those sounds, whatever it was that they were doing, it would just release. It would just let go, which was interesting. And then if that wasn't enough, then they had a Gestalt method that they used, where they had 2 chairs, and you would sit in one and you would put your troubles in the other chair. And in my case, it was my mother. And so we would go back and forth with this conversation, and which was very interesting. And so it's like there was nowhere to hide. Then there were saltwater sauna scrubs, and it's like there was just nowhere to hide. So you did this for 2 weeks with this diet and everything. And so when I came out of there, there was no internet. And so staying in touch with these people it just didn't seem like it was an option. All my other friends were still smoking and drinking. And so it was a very weird place to be, clean and clear. And so it would eventually, all that stuff would eventually start coming back, because I didn't have anything set in place to hold all that new great energy that I was experiencing. So it just led me from one modality to the other. There was, it was in the Leonard Orr days, and Sandra Ray, Loving Relationships. And I didn't do Leonard Orr, the training, but I did do Sandra Ray, because after the Polarity Boot Camp, it was like, I didn't need Leonard Orr, where he locks you in the room and you can't go to the bathroom. So I thought, yeah, it's like, I've done my share of, it's like, let's dig it out of her. And so I went on from there, and it went one after another after another. And then what it has done for me in my adult life is made me fearless in I'm not afraid to go wherever it is that it takes me. And so I got a Coast Guard license, which was 25 Coast Guard tests, and with 15 schools, it's like there was no way I was going to do this. But I did this. I cried a lot in my car before I would go take a test, and sometimes I'd vomit. But it was like I realized that I was capable of a whole lot more than I ever believed that I was. My confidence started really going through the roof. I built a house with a friend over on Vashon, and it's like I realized that all of this was, if I hadn't stumbled into polarity therapy, 50 some odd years ago, who knows that if I'd be still carrying around all this stuff that was just buried inside of me that really needed to come out and released, and so that I could grow into who I am today. And Dr. Dream is getting a better view of who I am, because I was pretty shy, actually. So I'm coming out and I'm feeling good about it, and everything, Phil, about there is perfection in whatever it is that's going on. It may not seem like it, and it's like you can't see. Sometimes you can't see what the bigger picture is, and it's like after things resolve themselves in the way that they do, you can look back and you go, oh yeah, okay, I can see what that was for now. But there is perfection, and to just lean into the moment. This moment is always going to be perfect, even though it may not look like it. So yeah.
Thank you, Susie. I appreciate that. I'm so glad you don't smoke anymore. Who would like to be next? Karen, I was thinking that it was going to be you, but I didn't want to call on you because I didn't want to. But all right, Karen, go for it.
Wow, it's I've been writing a few notes down here, and it is interesting. Susan, what you just said was something I wrote literally 5 minutes before you said it. So it's really interesting. So there's a saying that if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans. I've had experiences with death, Dr. Dream, very, very close people, both my parents and my little sister. I lost her. She was at 50 years old when she passed from cancer. And I've faced death myself twice. I know a lot of you know about the brain aneurysm, but you don't probably know that I had also nearly died from a perforated colon. So that's all happened to me in the last 10 years. So I think there is, as Phil was saying, the trust of where you're going to go. To me, that's one of the most profound and important things that I have discovered through all of this loss and the 2 near-death experiences. I mean, I'm talking, these were serious. Like, we got to the hospital and the doctor says to John, your wife either needs immediate surgery or she's going to die twice. Okay? So, 2 totally different situations, but both just as serious. And then when you go back and you think about your loved ones that have passed on, and depending on whatever your belief system is. I mean, I always kind of feel that I'm going to see everybody again. And I feel that because I'm still here, there's obviously work that I have to do. And I think you mentioned that, Dr. Dream. And then every day, and I can't say this enough, guys, every day is a blessing. Every single day, because there's so much in this universe that we can look at. I think I was talking to Jen Urban yesterday about something as simple as a butterfly. And I happen to have a butterfly garden, so I do observe butterflies. And to sit there and look at a butterfly wing and just be totally enthralled and amazed with the design of it. You know, that Fibonacci sequence, and how the creator created all of this. It's all a blessing. It doesn't matter if it's a butterfly. It doesn't matter if it's a friend that stops by with a hot cup of coffee that she picked up because she thought you'd like one. Your husband gives you a back rub. You know, they're all blessings. And for me, I think that's where my peace comes from, is just the fact that I know that all of these things are blessings. And there's certainly the Destiny that mentioned the flooding in North Carolina. I live in North Carolina, and I was not very far from those areas. As a matter of fact, my town was kind of like a staging town where all of the supplies and things came in for those people. And we orchestrated a lot via helicopter up to them. So, but there were still blessings that came out of that. The stories, you know, that I could tell, but we don't have time for that tonight. But, you know, you just have to look for the blessings, everybody. Always, always. That's what I have to add.
Thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. Who would like to be next? Okay, Jen, you're muted.
I'll get this out of the way. Wow. I'm just in awe right now, just to be in the presence of so many beautiful souls. This is amazing. As I'm sitting here thinking, well, what am I going to say? I don't even know if I'll be able to articulate. We all have our own stories. We all have our own traumas. And I think I picked up on something in every single one of your stories. And it's like, wow, we're all connected. And I agree with you, Karen. It's just literally the blessings. And sometimes you don't see them until you've gone through the storm. Like hindsight is 2020. I've always had, ever since I was little, some sense, and I probably didn't really identify what that was at the time, but some sense of a higher, bigger purpose that I'm here for, you know, just, but it didn't really resonate, just a feeling. When I was a baby, I almost died due to ingesting a poisonous ant button. I didn't know about it until my mom told me about it later, you know, rushed to the hospital and pumped my stomach and all of that jazz. And then when I was 8 years old, I was hit by a truck in front of our property. So there was another time where it was a really, really close call. I was in the hospital for 7 days with cracked ribs and a punctured, collapsed lung. You know, and this all goes into this hindsight, you recover and you look back and you're like, wow. I ended up in Sarasota, Florida, in my early 20s due to a relationship that I was in, and I'm not going to go into that, but that led me into the world of chiropractic. And I actually started a job as a pharmacy technician, which I didn't even know there was such a thing when I got down there. I was just going through the ads and it's like, okay, I'm gonna go apply. Got the job, and I'm in there counting pills, right? 2 weeks later, I got a call back from another one that I had applied for, and it was at this chiropractor's office, and so I did that. And I went in, and that's where I started learning at a deeper level the body's innate ability to heal itself and God. And I started learning a natural healing and all of this. And one of the doctors was the business owner, and his partner, or his, I wouldn't even say partner, the other doctor was very much a healer. He was from Ohio, and I was taking his wife's position that trained me. She was pregnant with her fourth child, and they were just such amazing people. But he was such a huge inspiration to me, and always would have me do the therapy on his patients. He said I had a healing touch. So he was very, very big part of me continuing into the natural healing realm. I almost went into chiropractic myself. I ordered the pamphlet or the brochure. I was looking into it. Something in my spirit said no, and but I really loved working with people, and I was considering going to the Sarasota School of Massage Therapy. I had a huge call to come home back here, and I pursued that when I got back here. So I've taken the path. So I was licensed through the Ohio Medical Board. Ohio and Florida tend to be two of the hardest states to get licensing in. I mean, I don't know about the other states, but they're pretty strict. And I just really wanted to work with people one-on-one, and my desire was to learn what I wanted to learn, or what I felt I needed to learn as I needed to learn it. So I took a lot of classes through chiropractic. I was into nutrition and juice extracting and essential oils. I mean, just anything I could absorb that was in the natural healing realm. I also met my husband when I moved home. So I've had a lot of my own traumas. I lost my husband 12 years ago. Probably my biggest challenge in my life ever. My life partner, he left me with 2 boys that I've been raising. They're young men now. They're still here. But I think that, the hindsight, so many things you learn along the way, and you look back and you have those aha moments. It's like, that's why I didn't go to chiropractic school, and that's why I did this. And I ended up, after the world event, 5 years ago was happening, and I was looking deeper at things, and Dr. Michael's technology came across my pathway, which led me on this next path, which actually God showed me 26 years prior, Urban Retreat and Wellness Center. Okay, he just kind of whispered it in, and it dangled for 26 years, married and kids and all this stuff, and you're busy and you're working, and then I lose Bill, and COVID hits, then that comes in, and bam, that was it. That was what I was being prepared for. And I knew it in an instant, and I connected very deeply with God. And seek and you'll find, ask and you'll receive, knock and the door will be open, the truth will set you free. So I did a lot of work in the last 5 years and just totally followed his will, his guidance. I just let him know my desire to be a vessel for whatever it was he wanted me to do. And we started this ministry here. But I will say that it's not been easy doing this. I never would have imagined doing something like this without my partner. And all my strength comes from God because I know it's what he wants. And I honestly, as much as I miss him, I may not be doing God's will right now if he were here. So I know too that there's a reason and a purpose for everything. And he will carry you through that, his plan, not my plan, but yours. And when you have that desire to do his will, nothing else really matters. And you can conquer anything as long as you stay close to him and let him, you trust and let him carry you. Just like the footprints in the sand, he's always there. So for me, it's been a journey of really becoming closer to my creator and stronger in me through him, knowing that we have it all. Each and every one of them has been giving a gift, and we have more power and more authority and more wisdom than most of us would ever, understand unless you really, really go inside. And it's really powerful. And the cool thing is, he's bringing all of us together so that we can encourage one another in this to stand up and be stronger and do the work. So that's it.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate your sharing. And we've still got about 24 minutes here. Who would like to be next? Go ahead, Vienna.
All right. My theme is going to be decision-making trauma because I always wanted to make the right decision and do God's will perfectly, and it was like I had this thought in my late teens and up through my 20s that there was one answer and I had to find it. And then somewhere in those college years, I found a book. I don't even know if I'll remember the name of it, but the concept was, let's think of God as a parent. And does a parent want to dictate their child's every move? Or do they want to help their child grow and learn to make decisions and learn from their mistakes and whatever. So it's not, my thought at that point was, it's not a big control thing that I'm waiting for the axe, the foot shoe to drop or something, if I make a wrong turn or something. And so I came to peace with, okay, I want to become a good decision maker. And then at one point made a decision about traveling, running sound equipment for a group that was representing my college. And then I signed that contract. I got accepted into the group. And then a week later, I get an invitation to come type the Turkana New Testament while my family is in Kenya. I was like, what? What in the world happened there? Did I miss it? I mean, I prayed so hard about it, and then my best friend got to go and do that typing. And it was a huge blessing for her. And she's still traveling and doing cool things. So, it's like, okay, even though I felt like I'd missed the boat, hindsight again, right? And then I get to Kenya and I meet someone that I think I could spend my life with, and then my parents show extreme disapproval. And so I just followed their wishes. And then I kicked myself around for the next 20 years for, like not going, I'm 27 for goodness sakes, let me make a decision here, so some more decision-making trauma along the way. And then ended up wanting to get back to Africa, got married, and then he decided he didn't want to go to Africa. And it was odd. It was definitely so we were married for 29 and a half years. And I've more decision-making trauma. Did I make the wrong move? And so spent some time beating myself up over that one, and then realize in every way that was formative for me. And the fact that I couldn't stand on my feet and know what I want, so I knew, or knew what I didn't want, so I knew what I did want, so I, could make a decision from my heart, not from trying to please other people or avoid punishment or whatever all my things were. So it's really been recently that I'm coming to that place of uh, someone that a friend has shared with me, and I can't think of his name right now, but teacher online. And he says, it couldn't have worked out any other way than it did because it didn't. It's just like, okay. So I'm still kind of mulling that over. And I had a backyard neighbor that I was just lamenting to her about marrying this person who didn't treasure me and, made life hard and whatever. And she said, I was like, I missed plan A. And she said, no, whether this was plan B, C, D, or E, when you married, when you started having children, this is your attention at the moment. This is plan A. And so just kind of coming around and all that and saying I was doing the best I could with what I had at the time and just coming to peace and going, God is so much bigger than my little foibles. So just giving myself permission that I might be skating around on this little bitty pond and then there's this whole universe. So if I had married in Africa, probably wouldn't be here. You know, if I were still in the marriage I was, So anyway, it all just I can see now the little circuitous path that brings me to a time like this where I am getting to know myself. I am deciding to live my truth, find my truth, live my truth, share my voice. I just appreciate all of you for walking the road together. I love it. And there's no separation, right? I mean, we're living, learning, loving, being. Thank you.
Thank you, Vienna. That was lovely. I do like that concept that we're all just here walking each other home. Who would like to be next? We've got a solid 18 minutes left. Stephanie, did you
Yeah,
just showed up?
I wasn't really thinking about saying anything, but then Vienna, you just totally triggered like a memory of like this is gonna be so funny. But like one of my most challenging things that I kind of went through, which was deciding to move away from my best friend when I was younger. Destiny is my absolute best friend. Like we're so close. And when I was 20, I felt the need to go off on my own little Stephanie adventure and start building my life. Um, and I missed her, like I'm sure we've all had that best friend that when you start building your own life, you just miss. And for years, I just would think about how much fun we would be having if we would have like stayed living in the same place and traveling together and like just doing what we were doing before I left. And it was like a lot of years where I was, like looking over the grass is greener on the other side thing, looking over and just like thinking like, I don't know, we had made a mistake or something by deciding to like go find what life was for us. But then as we grew and we grew into who we are in our lives with like our families, it all started to really make sense to me. And I love when people have children, you know, like Destiny has two, soon to be three kids. And I really do believe that everyone has a purpose on the planet and that those kids are going to do really amazing things and that she absolutely had to have those boys, you know. And I think the new one's going to be a girl, but we don't know yet. uh, you know, I believe that her children are star seeds and that if we would have just stayed like running around with what we used to do is we used to work, save money, and then go on road trips. So we would go travel. We spent a lot of time on like vacation, you know, and it was just so fun. We were so free and like just youthful. But ultimately, had we just played forever, we wouldn't have found the opportunity to bring starseeds into the planet, or for me to be able to be open and available to join Dr. Dream on the tour of love when we met, which was a big, big move for me. And it was an absolute yes at that point because I was available and ready in that sense. Um, so it took a lot of years for me to stop looking over the fence of the grass is greener on the other side. And I finally have, and it's really relieving because honestly, like I spent a lot of time mourning the physical closeness of my best friend and like the fun that we would have. And fortunately, in recent years, we've started planning trips where we can go and have fun again. So I appreciate that. But yeah, so it was just interesting, Vienna. You totally like just like sparked that in my memory, and I was like, oh my gosh, I used to really struggle with that. Like, wow. I think that's all for me. Thanks, guys.
So glad you went off and did all that. Okay, Sylvie, I saw you sort of motivating, moving your hand and whatnot. Are you? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's so beautiful to listen to really each of you. And it touched me because I can feel and see that we are all on the way, that we are all really like, I would say like caterpillars, so be supposed these beautiful butterflies that Karen mentioned, that she found that so joyful to watch. And yeah, I can relate with so many of your stories. And for me, it's like there is nothing what we can call accident. Everything what's happened in our life, it's supposed to be. It shows us a teaching to learn to be more and more ourselves, to be more and more authentic, to transform more and more in the love that we are. And to see ourselves and accept ourselves against the system that we've been told what we are not, to see that we are magic, that we are wonderful creators, and that we are creator, and that we can, from every single step we do, learn so much and share so much and bring it out in the world. And I appreciate for this reason this circle so much. And I mean, I had like in my life a lot of situation where I was thinking, oh my gosh, where I'm gonna go? What is gonna be? And then I remember my mother. She was really early divorced, 1971, with 3 children. And my father was not there for us. But every time she was there, and she was this strong woman who had this advice, if you think nothing works out, just walk the tunnel and you will see by the end of the tunnel is the light. And it's so interesting because a lot of people who had this death experience, near-death experience, they speak about this tunnel and the light. It's so crazy. And she mentioned this every time. I mean, she is already for 30 years dead. Her death was not a normal death. It was a combine of medicament and a train. But I know that she found her freedom. And it's really interesting. After her death, after the funeral, 1 week later, I had this beautiful dream. I'm not sad about that she's not here. I'm not missing her. I'm really happy for her because she's free. She's not more in this manic depression cycle. She's not more feeling this pain she felt her whole life, repeating the stories and living in the past. And for me, this comes with a big, 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 big teaching. It's like we can do everything, but don't live in the past and don't think you need to live in the future. Live in the moment. That's where we can create everything. That's where we can change and took our decisions for ourselves and even to make life better for everyone. And this dream I had from her was, we will meet again in your life and you will know it's me. It was so beautiful. And it's like, what a wonderful gift she left. And I still believe that I will meet her. I don't know when. I have enough time. Anyway, my plan is, or was the whole time, to gonna be 120 before I want to leave. I don't know if the concepts are changing. This is what I feel, but we will see. She's a really inspiring soul, and she was an amazing person. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Silvi. I appreciate that. Daryl, how about you?
Well, we're running so little on time. That Silvi, that was, you put tears to my eyes. It's so beautiful. Everybody sharing is so beautiful. Do you know, I feel quite fulfilled listening to everybody's story and sharing their journeys is so significant in so many ways. So I can share another time because we have a little bit of a teeny weeny minutes left. And so I can share another time, Dr. Dream. I'm good. I was grateful for everyone's share. So
Okay, I appreciate that, Daryl. Karen, Terry, anyone want to jump in or? And that's fine. Yep.
I just wanted to say, I know a few of the people here tonight. This is the first time I'm seeing them, and what a bunch of beautiful souls. Oh my gosh. You guys are you blew my mind tonight. The love is just incredible. So I just want to thank you for this beautiful gift. I'm going to go to sleep and have all these beautiful dreams. I just know it. I hope you all do too.
Well, Karen, it's a treat for us to have you here. It's always lovely when we connect, and I appreciate you and I appreciate all of you. What you shared tonight, it's very touching, and we could have spent the last 90 minutes and talked about the weather, but we chose to go deep, and these are my kind of conversations, and and getting to, I know all of you, and getting to know you a little bit deeper each week, and another facet of who you are and what you're about, adds to who I am and what I'm about. And that's community. That's sharing. That's being there for each other, and holding space. It kind of felt like it was a therapy jam tonight. And that's a special energetic when we can
Hey, Dr.
create.
Dream,
Yes.
can I just share something at the end here? Um,
Yes.
Yesterday I had being in Phoenix, myself and Mary went and visited some friends, and he took me I'm gonna call it like a health spa where I did compression leg boots, I did infrared sauna, I I did a cold plunge at 50 degrees for 2 minutes, and then I did another cold plunge in 42 degrees for a minute. And the reason that I'm bringing that up is he told me he was taking me, and I had no idea what temperatures, the cold plunges and whatnot. And I've been in cold water, but never below 50. And so I had to go through this thing of trust that I wasn't going to be carried out of there. And but it was really amazing because we talk about breath and breathing, and when you're going into cold, you really have to concentrate on your breath, because first off, when you get in, it takes your breath away. And so you really, you go into yourself and you breathe, and it was really quite simple, and it all worked out fine. But I started this conversation out tonight talking about trust, and I forgot about the trust that I had to have in myself to be able to go and do that. And my friend afterwards, he's a little bit younger. When I say a little bit, probably 20 years younger. Um, and he's like, "Wow, that was pretty cool, the way you did all that." And I went, "Yeah, you know, it was all good." So yeah, I just wanted to share that. It was just a trusting thing, allowing the body to get engaged in a little bit of extreme activity, and allow it to be okay.
I like that. It reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from Dr. Sandra Rose Michael, which is, "We're all just one breath away from God." And that's excellent. And thank you for not kicking it yesterday while you were doing all that crazy stuff. Uh, Thank you all for being here this evening, for being in this circle, for I built a shell of a container, and you all show up each week and fortify it, and it's so beautiful that we all feel safe to share, and to hold space, and to just be there for each other. It's Mondays rock. So as I say every week, and I will every week, I love each and every one of you. Thank you for enriching my life. Thank you for being part of this circle. And until next Monday, just be the best you, and that's the you that I see in you. And so thank you all very much, and have a lovely evening, and good night.
Thank you from Daryl, myself, and Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.